mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body. Because I am more than physical matter, I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world. I deeply desire to expand, to experience, to know, to understand, to control, to use such greater energies and energy systems as may be beneficial and constructive to me and to those who follow me. I deeply desire the help and cooperation, the assistance, the understanding of those individuals whose wisdom, development, and experience are equal to or greater than my own. I ask their guidance and protection from any influence or any source that might provide me with less than my stated desires.
Do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I am the void.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
All broadcasting live from a shack on a hill in the Mossy Creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. This is Lighting the Void, live here on the Fringe FM. Well, live on Lighting the Void right now. We still got to raise enough money to turn the station back on. But I want to give a big shout out to Claude Vigilante, aka Brian, and Domek for donating to the cause. Again, you can support the station always by going to fringe.fm, click on support. It's in the menu. You have to find it. There's several ways to donate there, and if you don't see the form, just refresh the screen. All right. So I didn't get a lot of time to prepare for tonight. I got this green screen thing I can't fix. Look at it. It's just like, we need support, man. I need some real lighting in here. You know, some decent lights. I'll put that on the Amazon wish list too, because that's why that green screen's doing that. You know, I have shadows all over the screen and I can't get the lighting to work out and whatever. You know, what's up, Howard? What's up, Cosmic? What's up, Domek? So I wanted to keep going. I like to dive deep. When I dive, we like to dive deep here. So I want to keep diving into the Explorers Project and commentating on it and talking about it. But I got a couple of things we got to go over. First, I missed a phone call last night. Like, this G-Voice phone rings sometimes and then sometimes it doesn't. I don't know why. But someone called during the show last night and I missed it. And so we did a show talking about what Robert Monroe's version of I guess the humans are a waveform, or our consciousness is a waveform. And it got pretty deep. And then towards the end of the show, we started listening to this lady that was supposed to be on Focus 21. And she was, I guess she was channeling stuff, right? So that's kind of where I want to go into tonight. This is channeling to me is a controversial subject. I can't see myself ever doing it, even if I was traveling out of body like crazy. I can't ever see myself, at least right now at this moment. What's up, Sir Wolf? Did I say hi to you? Sorry, I got ADD. But I can't see myself ever channeling anything. Anyways, we'll get deeper into that discussion tonight. However, if you've joined the LTV Telegram group, I have an audio file, and I want to play for you guys. Think about this. There's a lot of stuff online about human toxicity, masculine toxicity, narcissism, whatever. Well, let's just call all of this stuff like low vibrations. And it's a theory of mine. I've picked up Robert Monroe's theory on this, so I adopted it for myself. And I think you should too. That in our life, like, change is inevitable, right? We know this. But we always talk about in the New Age movement about vibrations and things like that. But how do we know when we're in like bad vibrations or toxic vibrations or whatever? So there's some clear signs to know this stuff, whether it's just to us and usually it's something that's about to change. So when an energy of change is coming, whether it's something in your life, relationships, the body, whatever, just change is coming. There's always two energies. It's funny how everything is polar. There's always two energies, and they're both wanting to flow. One energy that wants things to stay the same, right? It resists the change that's needing to happen or is about to happen, whatever. But we get to this crossroads, I guess you could say the archetypal crossroads. We could look at it that way. The metaphysical crossroads all the time. So there's an energy that wants to change and an energy that resists it. And we can see this in our lives if we really pay attention. Every 4 years, right? We have elections and stuff. Sorry, I got some bad allergies kicking too, and my eyes has been itching like crazy. So I have to apologize about that. I'll probably be allergic tonight for some reason. Anyways, we have to be able to identify these moments, because if we don't make a decision, and I'll get into this, Robert Monroe's theory about this, if we don't make a decision, the vibration starts to get really, really low. This is a paradox, by the way, because the human power, our biggest power, isn't really magic. If you think about it, it's not really the imagination, but it is. But our biggest power is freedom of choice. We always have a choice where everything in nature seems to be doing its job or running on its animal instincts or in a state of becoming, but it's all doing a job except us as humans. Every moment we have a choice. This whole I am that I am paradox thing, right? And every choice that we make ripples a different kind of timeline or whatever. So this is what locks us into paralysis by analysis. And you guys know that's a low vibratory state too. Or when we get to let's just say on a different level, when we get to election time, and I'll get into the waveform thing here in a minute, but you have these two energies that one wants change and the other one wants things to stay the same. A little bit traditional conservative, more, I guess you could say liberal, needing change, whatever. Now, what happens before a decision is made? How low do the vibrations get? While we wait on, let's say, a mass, I guess you could say, community to make this decision. We wait, and while we're waiting, we're all debating. We're at this crossroads. Before we all vote or whatever, things get really shitty. If you've ever had relationships, right? If someone doesn't take the lead and make the change or whatever, and we're stuck at a crossroads, the things get really shitty. Isn't that weird? And even in chaos magic, when you go to talk to Lucifer or Satan or whatever, and I've done this before out of Gordon White's book, the place that you go to is the crossroads, right? So we'll get into this a little bit deeper. So I think when you open yourself up to channel, it could be a little dangerous to your psyche, but you guys could change my mind if we talk about this enough tonight. But I want to talk about this real quick. I'm going to play this file. This is straight from Robert Monroe himself, out of Journeys Out of the Body. I don't think I'll get in trouble because it's fair use. It's like journalistic. And he talks about this. He learned this through his explorations from journeying out of the body. And if you're in the Telegram group, you've probably heard it, but here it is. Hold on, let me see if I can get it up here.
Reduction get it together formula.
Yeah, get your shit together formula.
The main underlying cause of human worry relates to the law of change. All human conflict relates to this law. Some worry that change will take place, others that it will not. Wars are fought to resist change or to accelerate it. At the individual level, this translates into various forms of indecision. Fear enters into the pattern. Fear of the consequences of any decision or action. The pressure builds up, intensifies as the decision is put off, delayed. The result accumulates toxins in all parts of the human system until there is failure or severe reduction in operating efficiency. Indecision is the killer. Consider the statistics of decision, in general and simplified. In any abstract decision, there is a 50% probability that the correct or constructive choice will be made. If the correct path is taken, obviously no problems will exist. If the incorrect selection is made, it will become evident. When it does, there is a 50% probability that the choice can be reversed and the constructive path substituted in its place. Therefore, there is only one chance in 4 at the most that an irrevocable direction may be taken in decision-making. All vital decisions in the history of man have been made on much worse odds than 3 to 1. Some were as high as 1 in 20 and came out positively. To move away from the null point of indecision, take the position that any action or decision is better than none at all, based upon the odds of 3 to 1. To get the process underway without trauma, perform the following. Make up an A list. Place on this list all of your worries.
Before we go into his solution about this is like Robert Monroe's get your shit together list based on what he's learned consciously. So what he just said there is pretty profound. It's simple, but if we're really waveforms, like he's saying in the previous video that we did or show, then this makes a lot of sense. So we come up to these places in our life where change is vibrating and it hits a wall and it's something wants to change. And we're the only thing in the universe that decides whether that change is going to happen or not. Humans. Like, we don't really know how powerful we are, but that's where our power is. And so we have to wait a little bit, right? Sometimes we kind of weigh out the factors and then we make a decision. At least that's what I do. Try not to be super impulsive about making decisions. But while we're in this place of not making a decision, it's like the worst feeling in the world. Think about this on an individual level, not just politically when we're waiting for elections and stuff. Think about this personally. Like anytime in your life that a change was coming in, you either resisted it or you didn't make a decision. You kind of just laid around and waited for something to happen. Nothing good ever happens from indecision, right? As a matter of fact, it gets pretty damn toxic, and then it can become like anxiety and depression and things like that. And then when we do, let's say, what's another one? Relationships, right? Sometimes we come up to places in our relationship where somebody needs to take the lead and make the change that needs to happen, or we don't decide at all. And during that era of indecision, you can feel, it feels like shit, like everything feels crappy. So what he's saying is statistically, anytime you make a decision, even if it's wrong, most of the time, 75% of the time, you can come back and fix it, change it, reroute it. But this proves his almost like his theory of consciousness as a waveform, because while the no decision is being made, the vibrations get lower and lower and more toxic. I can tell you personally, when I get around people or things that are like, I don't know, it's like, I don't know, it gets real, just, it starts to get weird. It starts out weird, then it starts to get shitty, and then things just get worse. So you can change your mind, but the point here is that I'm getting at is as long as you keep the energy flowing, you can reroute the energy, which could prove that we are kind of a waveform consciously. And think about this in your personal life, your relationships, and in society. When we get in modes of, here comes the change, here comes this energy that wants change, here comes this energy that's resisting it. And when the energy doesn't make up its mind or it doesn't go one way or the other, what happens, right? So hopefully that kind of goes into proving about the waveform thing, but a little bit. We'll get into that a little bit more. But now here's his solution for this. Here, let me play this.
Anxieties and concerns about which you can do absolutely nothing.
Kind of
You
logical.
cannot do anything about tomorrow's weather conditions. It will rain, snow, be cold or hot, and there is no action you can take to prevent it. If there is absolutely nothing you can do today about such items, place them on this A list. Make up a B list. Place on this list all of your worries, anxieties, and concerns about which you can do something today. Take action, large or small. Make up a C list. Place on this list all of your needs, hopes, and desires, large or small, which have yet to be fulfilled. Today, perform the following functions. 1. Take the A list and destroy it, and in so doing, dismiss all items contained therein from your consciousness. Why waste your energy worrying about that which you cannot control? 2. Take the B list and take some action, however small, to begin the resolution of each item contained therein. Several may be concluded immediately and thus can be released and dismissed from your consciousness. Others will be reduced in pressure because the flow has begun. A decision has been made. 3. Take at least one item on the C list and perform one act, large or small, that moves you in the direction of such goal. Perform this entire process each day until you have no A list, no B list, and all of your energy and consciousness are devoted to items on your C list. You
Pretty
then
simple,
will
right?
complete serenely your human life purpose. Click.
That's a pretty simple thing, right? Like, so if we just did that formula that he's talking about, our whole lives would change. It'd be like so different. All of our lives would be. But what's happening? It's the same energy when we're analyzing stuff. When you're trying to analyze a decision, which I think you should. We all should. That's why I have brains, weigh the consequences, but make the decision, right? Once we analyze the decision, or while we're in that mode of analyzing, if we stay there too long, we start to feel crazy. We start doubting ourselves. You feel this energy when you get gaslit too. Or someone gaslights you. I mean, the more I think about it, the more he's right, especially if energy is a waveform, You feel this energy when you know something to be true in yourself, or you speak upon something. I feel this way, or this is whatever's happening. And someone's like, are you sure you feel that way? Well, I don't know. Maybe you're mistaken. Or no, you don't. What is that? That is an energy of someone, like, I hate to say this, but people could call it demons, whatever you want to call it. But that is the other energy that's resisting the change. Whether it's you realizing something. Hey, when you do this, it makes me feel this way. There's this other energy that comes up that's like, uh-oh, they're realizing something. They're wanting change. I don't want that. That's like the underneath of that is like gaslighting. Just think about anything that feels like shit on a low vibratory level. 90% of the time, it's some kind of change coming up that wants to change, grow, whatever you call it. And then there's another energy coming up against it that doesn't want it. How many times in your life have you wanted to grow, authenticate, and there's the blocks in your life, whether it's just stuff, people, whatever, and you express your feelings. You might have some people that are like on your side. Yeah, go for it, whatever. But 9 times out of 10, there's usually even people that you never would have thought will start coming up against, and make you doubt yourself, make you doubt things. So I think this also helps us tap into that third energy that he was talking about on the previous show, this life energy, our waveform, what we call intuition. See, we know a thing. We're ready for a change. It comes through us, either into our life or through our bodies and our feelings or whatever. We identify with it. We express it. And then when this energy comes up against us that we doesn't want the change, we get mad or whatever. That's what starts arguments. But if a person but think about this, how well does an energy flow when a person's like, hey, when you do this, it makes me feel this way or whatever. I'm just using this as an example. And the other person's like, man, I'm really sorry. I don't want to do that anymore. How can we make sure that doesn't happen? Or bam, the energy starts flowing. The conversation feels good. The energy feels better. Or if that resistance comes up against you and you stand your ground, you're like, no, I feel this way. I'm not allowing this happen. And you keep your boundary. There's a little awkwardness, but eventually it exerts itself. It's the same exact thing when we hold on to like emotions and shit, right? We're definitely waveforms. Think about this. I don't want to say definitely, but I feel like he's right. But think about this. Damn, I just had it too. When you don't express an emotion, when you don't feel something all the way through. Now, this has been studied in neuroscience, right? I watched this on a podcast, but men and women deal with things differently, right? Men, let's just say after breakups, because everybody knows that, right? We don't have to talk about politics, but it feels the same when your politician loses, right? But in between, while we're waiting on that decision, things get pretty shitty, don't they? But even after breakups, there's a change that's happening. So if you're, and believe me, I've been through this so many times. If you're holding on to an energy, you're resisting the change. So if you're the person that's resisting the change, or both of you are, right? It feels like shit. You're just holding on to it. You're holding on to it. You're holding, and it's hard. It starts causing trauma, or you try to bring it back. But if you just make the decision, right? What happens? They say men tend to be more happier after breakups, but they also hold on to that energy and it causes them more trauma. And women tend to feel the breakups more, like they'll actually feel it all the way through. And it probably hurts them more than you know. But because they have the ability to tap into their emotions on such a deep level, they can process the change better. But if two people agreed, like, just because I've been through all of this, right? If two people agreed, yeah, you're probably right. Maybe we should go our separate ways for a while. Let's see what happens. If it doesn't work out, we can always call each other back, right? If you both agreed on it, that would be awesome. You still miss them, but that's still the energy that's like resisting the change. So the resistance of that change without the decision of letting the energy flow one way or the other causes low vibration, right? I mean, even if you look in neuroscience, this stuff is like true. So before, Monroe was talking about on these audios that he believes that humans are magnetic and electric, and then there's this third energy when you put it all together, and that's what life energy is, that we're some kind of waveform. What I'm asking you to do is, if you take everything that's happened to you in your life, trauma, good stuff, doesn't matter, bad stuff, whatever, and envision yourself as a waveform of energy that needs to grow and flow, right? Think about what I'm saying, and you'll see every time something shitty has happened, there's always been something that's wanted change and something that's resisted it, right? And in between those two things, without the energy going one way or the other, you can go back and not change anything, or you can change. The energy just needs to flow. But if it stays in this box, it starts to get really low, really nasty. And in my opinion, this is where like real trauma and real mental diseases come from, and real like bad things happen. I mean, I've met perfectly sane people that you could easily just inflict doubt upon them. They could think something, say something, and you could just throw one question in there and say, "Are you sure?" And they would doubt everything they felt and thought, and they would just get stuck in this place, almost like a psychic attack. And after enough times that happens to them, they start to feel crazy. They'll even say, "Am I crazy? You know, I'm not crazy." Then they get pissed because they start to get angry because they're suffering. So they're tired of being in this place, right? And it causes suffering. The vibration gets even lower. And this is when I do tarot, I'll pull out the Emperor card for people. Because a lot of times we don't want to do the thing that God gave us, which is this power to make a decision, that I am that I am. That is our divine power. So being able to have boundaries and stand up for yourself or grow and change when you need to, even when there's resistance, is great. It's still even better. Like if someone comes up to you, you say something, we have a conversation, I say, "I think I'm this or that." And you say, "Are you sure you're not considering this thing?" Okay. I can sit back and think about it for a little bit. But if the energy does not flow, if I don't make the change or stay the same, one way or the other, things are going to get real shitty. Life is going to get real shitty. Stagnancy. I know this because it's not like I'm preaching. I'm living this right now at this moment. Like I looked around in the shack today and I'm like, God, I feel like I've been stuck in this. I feel like I'm in the twilight zone because even when I've tried to leave, I'm back or whatever. And I started realizing what it is that I'm resisting and this decision that I'm not making for myself. Even if I'm wrong, I can always come back, but it's this thing that we've been holding on to. I know it sounds like a bunch of gobbledygook, but I hope you're smelling what I'm stepping in here, you know. Now, once we understand that we're waveforms or whatever, then is channeling really that big of a thing like to worry about? Like possession and channeling. If we come into this consciousness where we're all just one thing anyways, we're just a bunch of waveforms on top of each other. But on the earth, we're in bodies. But everywhere else, in the dream world, in the astral world, pretty much everywhere, we're just like this waveform. Is channeling or allowing spirits to take over your consciousness or channeling information through that a bad thing? It could be. I don't know, right? Which is also kind of another paradox because I like to figure out truths that are almost impossible to figure out, which leaves me in a state of, guess what? Low vibration. It's almost better sometimes if we lie to ourselves and make a decision and then find out we're wrong later than stay in this like I don't know place, right? Because it's like a form of suffering. The vibration gets low enough, we start suffering from it. Does that make sense? I hope I'm making sense. I like it when you relate topics back to the tarot. Yeah, well, usually when I pull out like the Emperor card, so when I do a reading, I'll do the tree, and then while people are talking, I'll pull out cards while they're talking. So if I ever see the Emperor come up, that's almost like a card that's telling you, you need to take charge of your life. You need to be the one that make the change. You need to stand your ground. You need to be the Emperor, you know, have enough will for yourself to do these things. But breakups show us this energy. Politics show us this energy. Anytime we have to make tough decisions in our life, it shows us this energy. I'm not talking about like rip the Band-Aid off and hurt people. That's not what I mean. But the crossroads is no place to stay. It's like it's definitely a void. It's another type of void for sure. All right, I want to play this voicemail that called into the show last night from New York. I think I'm going to see if I can respond to it, and then we'll get into what we're going to talk about tonight here.
Hey, man. Good evening. Over the YouTube podcast or whatever, you mentioned to call in, yada, yada. Not that I want to express anything, you know, over the course of YouTube or whatever. what you got going with Monroe and everything like this, it's right in point with something just came to mind in regards of the subtleties. For example, so I wake up in the morning, on a blessed morning. I'm not woken up by stress or woken up by whatever else to do, but kind of realize yourself to be awoken. You're in that little space between waking, sleeping, and relaxing. So it's chill. It's not, some paralysis. It's just a chill spot. And you can watch your thoughts and kind of guide them. And you guide those thoughts in that spot, and you can observe yourself, your body that is, as how quickly cortisol could shoot through your body with the thought of that thing you gotta do. Or the thought of stress that has to be done. Or the thought of sitting and chilling and continuing to relax as you're in bed. Or the thought of a fantasy that you'd like to happen in the most beautiful way the next day. And how, as what I'm hearing through the YouTube thing, it's guy Robert Monroe, which I knew about 20 years ago. Weird story. Looking for the Census Bureau. I came across him, but anyway.
This guy met Robert Monroe? That's cool.
Yeah. That weird magic spot of intent, subconscious, and awareness. Beautiful magic moment. So definitely a voicemail rant. But you invited to call. And what you're saying rings true. And, for those who are interested in this sort of, approach to dictating one's own life, it's pretty powerful to realize when you wake up in the morning that just a single thought, a single half of a second of a thought with enough energy behind it subconsciously or consciously can totally inspire or despire the vessel that we wake up in and we go through the world in. So, all right. Take care, man. We'll continue to listen. Good night.
That's a pretty good call. So, he's coming to this, I guess he met Robert Monroe, but that's cool. So he's coming to this awareness that he's talking about when as soon as you wake up, one moment of a thought can change your whole entire paradigm. Yeah, man, that's how powerful we are. We don't realize that, I don't think, a lot of times. Because all we're doing is constantly relating ourselves to the outside world through our senses, through our 5 senses, which is more of a magical discussion about the pentagram thing. But that's kind of all we do is we take in information from our senses and then we decide in our head what that is. It's still that whole I am that I am thing. But in these moments, I think he's talking about twilight. So back to what I was saying before, if we are waveforms, then that would make sense again why we could use 2 different frequencies, sync the hemispheres of our brains and come to this place, because we're these polar beings where the energy really has nowhere to go. Most of the time it's left or right. It's this or that. That's how we think all the time. That's why everything is so divided in our lives. That's why the Masons have that chessboard floor. They understood all this. But if we can put ourselves between sleep and awake, or twilight, or play 2 different tones in the ear and kind of confuse that a little bit and keep that energy in between that polar world, or combine the 2 poles, sexual energy is the same way, what happens? A different or a third form of creation comes out. And this is why I think this helps you stay in that twilight state, because we are kind of waveforms, and then shoots us we could peel ourselves out of body. Some people I've heard just wake up and or listening to HemiSync and they're just somewhere else, or they're exactly where they were envisioning. But we got to learn to play with this more, is what I'm saying. Once we understand this polar world, and our power is the lover's card, really. It's I am that I am. I make a choice whether it's divinely guided or divided by my ego or my animal self, whatever. Like every choice we make is wave energy going in one direction or the other. When we come up to this place in our life, and I'll just say this once more, where change comes up against resistance. This energy wants change, this one doesn't. Test it out. Just see how shitty things get. It's almost better to make a wrong decision and adjust later, like Monroe was saying, than stay there. I think they call that purgatory in the mystical sense. So, now, yesterday we were listening to this lady who's supposed to be in Focus 21, who is channeling a being. And this is where I kind of want to take this discussion tonight. We have to understand, like, channeling is taking the consciousness of something else and allowing it to speak through us. Manly P. Hall warned against this. He said it's not safe to do this. You should be able to be clairvoyant, control what you allow in and what you don't, instead of just opening yourself up to things. If you want to study that, just Manly P. Hall talks about it all the time. Versus some of these explorers and mystics, or even paranormal explorers, if you want to say, underground folk. Some people just open themselves up and channel whatever comes through them. This lady, supposedly, we don't know for a fact, but supposedly Robert Monroe is sitting right next to her. We know that for a fact. And she has already went through their program, like Focus 1 to 10, all the way up to 21. So she's done the breathing, the relaxing, the tones, everything, the visions, the visionary, energetic stuff that they tell them to do. She's supposed to be an advanced traveler. And when she gets to this place, an entity starts speaking through her. So what I'm asking you guys is, what I'm trying to figure out, is this safe in the terms of, well, safe. I think it's safe for the most part. But is the information always true? That's another question we should ask ourselves. Is it safe? And is it true? All right, here we go. This is where we left off,
I know that this is...
Hold on. Let me start right here.
Finally, at the end of the session, a clear message was delivered.
It gets creepy sometimes, though.
I know that this is a great adjustment for Helen today, and we have been able to achieve this level. However, she is not accustomed to this level, and therefore it has required much concentration on her part, and she needs further to practice in the level of this consciousness. Do you understand?
Yes, I think you're recommending that she practice getting into this state of consciousness where she is.
This is a most unusual state, and she is not accustomed to this level. However, she is quite capable and must practice daily, and this is something that she should do every day, and she has knowledge of this level. She just needs to practice. She does not always do this, and this is recommended for her. This must be done on a daily basis. Do you understand? We can achieve much with her assistance. She is capable.
Sir Wolf said perhaps a slap could adjust the vocals, right? It sounds like a character in Alice in Wonderland. But let's give her the benefit of the doubt. let's say she is talking to it. Let's just even pretend, if you don't believe, that she's talking to an entity. Allow yourself to possibly believe it, right?
Capable and must have this discipline, and it is recommended that she do this daily, every day. You must instruct her. She is not accustomed to achieving this level, but now I believe she has knowledge of this and must proceed because we have much to tell you. I know that it is going to take some discipline on her part, but she is willing to dedicate and must receive confirmation of this. Do you understand me?
Yes, I understand you quite well, and we will certainly...
Would you listen? How is Robert Monroe keeping us cool right here? I can imagine Robert Monroe's in just a room. He's in the studios, like, or wherever at the Monroe Institute, and it's just him and this woman. It's probably 3 a.m. Nobody's around, and this thing just starts talking to him through this woman. There had to have been a few times in his life where he's like, I don't know. I don't want to. I respect the man too much to say anything right now about it. I personally would be like, some of this is too much, man.
Give her that encouragement and instruction, and that's whatever
cool,
support we can provide for her.
Very well.
And we would look forward then to future contacts with you when she has developed greater ease with and comfort with achieving this condition.
Yeah, this is so.
I thank you for your help very much, and look forward.
Good day.
Goodbye.
That's it.
A few weeks later, in our 5th session with HRL, the voice was becoming more articulate, but there was still obviously a struggle. The following exchange took place at the end of that session.
What if is that why it's doing that? So I guess Monroe's saying that it's speaking weird like that because it doesn't know how to, it's trying to learn how to use this woman's body to speak or something. So that's why it's weird. Some Frankenstein stuff, man.
We have spent much time in adjustment, but it is only in adjustment that we might achieve that which is of the highest nature. It is important that in our transfusion that it is established of a highest nature. Do you see?
Yes, I understand. That is our desire also.
That is
but
Robert
it would
Monroe.
seem that we are more in need of your help in this process than you are of ours, but we will certainly follow any suggestions you
I will work with Helen in the days to follow. She can learn and she can perceive. She is new to this experience, and of course you must be patient with her.
We shall do that.
We shall close for now, if you wish.
Thank you very, very much for appearing, and we will plan to continue attempts for clear transmission and communication with you in the future. We did not see HRL for almost 6 months after that. During that time interval, she was practicing at home.
Okay, well, this is a first for me, right? Like, so the first time that they got information from this entity or whatever, it was trying to like talk and just say, hey, we need to figure out how to talk. And so we can get results of the highest nature. The second time, I think it was like, he said it was like a few days or something. And it's saying the same thing. I'm still adjusting, trying to figure out how to talk to this lady. And then she disappeared for 6 months. And then now, that's kind of convincing. I'm saying I'm a little bit more convinced, just a little bit more, that this might be real. This person.
And has told us she was working to release her fears of the energy that kept seeking to express words through her body. In our sixth session with her, the voice came through again. Are you at focus 21, would you say?
Oh.
What the hell? You think she's flopping around while she's trying to get in sync with this entity to talk? Like the movies? You think she's like, like her body's probably moving around like some kind of possessed person until the entity just syncs up with her wavelength or her waveform? If we're waveforms, then that's a creepy thought, because that's all it would take was another waveform to come along and just try to figure out how to sync with yours, you know?
Now I am here with you.
Yes, welcome. Welcome. Is there something you would like to say to me?
We wish to say to you, we are glad to be with you again. And further, we wish to attempt to further develop channel and to proceed with our work, which we have come to do.
Cool.
Now, we have before you limitations among us, and those limitations are controlled by other forces that continually are preparing to stabilize oneself.
Yes, we will be patient here.
You guys listen to this at night while you're sleeping?
After a few minutes, the voice became more stable. But more important, this entity began a succinct discourse on the Eastern concept of Tao and its relationship to creation, creativity, and consciousness. HRL, it should be noted, has never studied anything about the Tao. Not only was the channel of communication becoming ever more distinct, but the entity even seemed to show a bemused reaction when I asked for a name to identify it.
How you address is not important to us, but we realize it's hearken to you as we have. You wish to address us? Is that correct?
Yes, only for our own purposes here of wanting to reach you again or talking to ourselves about the message that you have brought. It would help us to distinguish the messages that come from what seem to be other entities beyond the physical world.
You sometimes may refer to us as Chang, and although I may not always be with you, which are others who are anxious to present to you. Now, is this acceptable?
Of course, that's perfectly acceptable.
Oh my God!
It
You
will
guys
be
are
useful
killing me.
to us, even though we understand that it has no real relevance.
Now this is a serious subject. Now you guys are killing me in the chat room, man. Michael says, "I'm listening from my semi truck from South Texas. It sounds like I got a horny lot lizard in here." Well, the lot lizards have changed. I'm going to humor you because I've heard you more than once say you know when someone is lying to you. Yeah. Well, I don't think Robert Monroe, damn it, Cherie, you busted me out, right? I don't think Robert Monroe is lying. I think he's generally interested in what's going on. I think it's interesting that this woman has taken months at a time to come back around and channel. Let me put it this way. Is she in a like focus 21 state? I believe she is. I believe she's in that state of whatever the Monroe Institute calls it. Is she making this up? I got to be honest with you. I don't know. Right now, I don't know. So I'm at that place of indecision. I don't know. That's what we're here to figure out. I think that and this stuff is like her actually trying to fight herself. I know this is going to sound fucking weird when I say this, but it's actually her trying to fight her desire to make up something versus pulling something through and saying something. Because I've been under hypnosis before. And you can get to a certain, this isn't hypnosis, but you can get to a certain state where you just need to, your brain will just start making up things. Is that channeling? I don't know. I find this whole thing fascinating. As far as like the big mainstream ones that have, I don't want to insult anybody. There's a lot of BS out there in this channeling world. I'll say that. This one specifically though, like I don't know. I don't want to judge it. Hopefully we'll hear of some other answers besides I'm trying to figure out how to communicate, you know.
In terms of the reality that as you comprehend it, at some time it may have no relevance for us, but we operate on names, and maybe that's one of our limitations.
Come to you in frequency level, and it's almost important that you receive message. That is all. And I now must request to you to terminate the session so that we may allow channel to return to physical body.
Very good, and thank you very much.
Good day.
Good day to you, Chang.
What's its name? Tank? Shank?
We had a session with HRL the next day, and talking with Chang seemed as natural as talking to an earthly friend, although the subject matter may have been somewhat different. We look forward to increasingly clear communication with this energy source in the future. So, as you've heard, becoming an explorer is not always as simple as it may seem when you hear the audio tapes of an explorer who has practiced on his or her own and in the lab for quite some time. We don't want to discourage anyone out there from attempting it. We just want you to be aware of what can be involved. We also hope that this gives you a better appreciation for all the fine explorers who are so dedicated and give so freely of their time and effort, that we may all have a clearer understanding of humankind and the potential we all have for exploring other forms of reality.
Okay, well, very good. Back in the library. You feel comfortable? Oh, very. That's good. Mm-hmm.
Damn. I'm jealous. Honestly, even though some of this stuff is wild, I would love to do this. Like, I'm so fascinated by this stuff, man. I would love to. So here, anyways, Thomas Campbell, when he was doing this, he would leave the body, and then Robert Monroe would say he was out 4 or 5 minutes, like 10 minutes. Or no, I think the most he was ever out was like 5 minutes. And then Thomas Campbell would come back and report what an entity was telling him, what he saw, all this other stuff. Channeling is like, this is the first time I've ever heard that it took them months of work at a time for her to just sync up with this thing. I mean, how do you, like, if you really think about this on a deep level, like what Carl Jung talks about, the nature of reality, all the stuff, even if she is using her imagination and making some of this stuff up, does that still mean it's not real and she's not channeling a being if we are waveforms? It's a trippy thought, man. I personally am not, like, I probably will never, I can't see myself ever channeling anything, you know, ever. I just need to become a hypnotist. I was going to go to a school in Florida to learn how to do it, but it's super expensive. It's like 10 grand or whatever for the whole thing. But yeah, I want to do that. I at least want to help people. But like, so, not just Monroe, but Tom Zinser, we had him on the show. And he was a fascinating therapist, really good therapist. So you read his books, he's dedicated to this field of study. And he would take people that supposedly had personality disorders or people that didn't have any disorders that wanted to heal trauma, use hypnosis and get to a place in hypnosis. When he would get down to the trauma, there would be beings that would come up, like alternate personalities that would break off or fragment from this person's personality and stop Tom from talking about the trauma. Think about that. Again, even like in our mundane lives, in the collective, and even deep inside of us, there's that waveform again, wanting change, wanting growth. And even in subconscious work, there's another thing trying to resist it. It's fucking weird, man. I think that's what we archetypally call Satan, right? Or the adversary. Sounds like she's sleep talking. Yeah. What's up, Ava? What is stopping me? Leeches. That's what's stopping me. I mean, I guess you could just do it. You could say you're a hypnotist and start doing it. I'm pretty good at it, actually, for what I know. But, like, there's so much to learn about it. I think I should go to school for it. It's just really expensive. The good ones are. All right. Let me see if I can find another one. It's like talks about. Now let's go. What is this one?
Now reach out and look in the library under man, comma, human, comma, earth.
What library?
Look where the beginning took place. Read into the beginning. Unroll the beginning.
Oh, we've done this one before.
Fascinating. I'm seeing
We've already. That's the story of creation, I think. Which is, or the origins of man. All right, here we go. Entities, energy streams, and information. Unless y'all want me to go back to that one. Oh, shoot. I'm way over the top of the hour.
Hello,
thingy.
I'm Rita Warren, a coordinator of the Explorer program at the laboratory of the Monroe Institute. A reminder before we begin this excerpt from another Explorer session. The Institute takes no stand on the validity of the information presented in any Explorer session. We simply offer the material without endorsement for your consideration.
Basically, that's saying we know some of this could be bullshit, but we don't want to judge it. We're going to leave that up to you. But here's the info.
It's up to you to determine whether or not any of the material fits with your belief system. If we give you something that makes you think or raises questions in your mind, then we feel we've done our job. And if any of the Explorer material rings true for you, we strongly urge you to validate that information for yourself and explore for your own answers. The following excerpt comes from our 31st session with Explorer HBW. It covers the phenomena of channeling and has some interesting things to say about the sources of such information.
We are talking to you today in order to lecture a little bit on the phenomena of channeling. You see, the voice that is speaking right now has not been speaking to you in those terms. You might recognize the quality of the sound, but the source of the voice is very different. Now, channeling does not always mean that there will be sources of information that are somewhat defined, that express certain levels of consciousness. Sources of information are not always entity that as such speak through a physical channel. The truth is that a person that is expressing its entity through a physical body indeed is in touch all the time with all sorts of energy streams and flows within the time and space concept and outside time and space concept. Now, there is a state of mind,
Who's
so
this
to
talking?
say, when the physical brain not only is the instrument of the entity itself or of other levels of this entity that do reside somewhat outside of space and time, but there is also a state of mind where the mind as such ceases to exist and only functions as a radio station for energy streams that do occur and are present all the time, all over the place, within space and time and outside space and time. Now, it is important to understand that not always do these energies being clustered together and form what you might call an entity.
All right, so we got to do the short station promos, break, stuff like that just for the show. We don't have to do the stations because the station's down. The station's down because we haven't hit our support goals. So for all of you lovers that love the Fringe FM, please support at the Fringe FM. We'll be right back. We'll get back into this, what is channeling thing. Is it real? You can also call in at 501-777-5631. Stay with me.
You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
They don't get the information.
I love magic.
Wild, man.
And Lighting the Void, each and every week, you will get to hear shows about magic, mysticism, and many other subjects that stretch your mind and imagination. So when I got my mind on the magic and the magic on my mind, I listened to Lighting the Void on the Fringe FM. It's magic.
Need to go and look with favor upon you.
You're wondering what we're going to do to you, aren't you?
Hey, this is No Way Jose, a Northern California Piscean stuck in the Arizona desert. I'm a void walker, and I got the shoes to prove it. So what do I do when my soul yearns to delve deep into the realm of the unknown? I aim my satellite straight into the night sky and catch a smooth ride on the KTLK-DB radio waves. I tune into Lighting the Void with Joe Root on the Fringe FM.
Joe, Lighting the Void is the best show on the planet. This is Barney, your friend from Facebook. Thank you and all the crew for all you do. Namaste, my friend.
This is Macon from the foothills of North Carolina, and I am a void walker.
G'day, void walkers. This is Lily from down under Australia. The world may be small, the enigma is greater. So let your curiosity take you for a journey with Joe Root.
Hey, this is Fee, coming in from Central Maryland, and I am a void walker.
This is Kevin Doherty, a beginner void walker. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I know a little about a lot, and as Leonard Skinner said, I'll guess the rest. I learned a lot from Mr. Root in the show, and I heard it from the beginning. I knew right then he was going to be a new Art Bell. Thanks for all your shows, and keep it up.
Hey, this is Derek from Mass, aka the Night Stalker, and I'm a void walker.
This is Mark from Chicago, and I walk the void to ascertain what is consciousness.
My name is Jared Johnson, and I'm from Humboldt County, California. I do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm a void walker. Thanks, Joe Root.
This is Dancing Dave from Surviving the System, and you're listening to the Fringe FM. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, the best revenge is success.
Hey, Bo, get in here and look at the TV. This reporter guy, he's saying that the alien spaceships have coming down and are having fights with the military. I know, Uncle Bill. Isn't it crazy? The New York Times even told me alien spaceship parts is in Las Vegas. Have you heard conversations like this? Are you looking for more definitive explanations and answers? Visit our website at ufoseekers.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Have you ever wondered, what do the stars say for me? Or, will the next month or the next year be more favorable? How about, are our two signs compatible? Each month, at the new moon, you can ask these questions live with me, your astrologer psychic, Mary DeCina, along with the host of Lighting the Void, Joe Root. Join us at the new moon for Cosmic Conditions. We look forward to working with your energy.
Every new moon at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Right here on Fringe FM.
This is Corbin, son of the one and only Joe Root, and you're listening to the Fringe FM.
You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void Live. Yeah. I feel bad for the radio station listeners, but, you know, it is what it is, man. We've always been listener supported. Here's the thing that I love about, just so you guys know, digital radio tends to bring you like a smaller, more kind of loyal audience. You kind of find your people in digital radio, like your tribe or whatever. If you just stick to just doing a podcast, depending on how you do it, it can grow or whatever. I'm too big of a lover of radio to let it go. So once again, I am, and a lot of us at the station are at a place of, hey, there's this energy that wants to change, and I think we're resisting it. So we're going to have a meeting, me and Jess and Gigi and a lot of the other hosts that are on the station, try to figure out how to take this forward. But we always need your support. We can only donate so much ourselves to the station, and then you have other hosts and other people that are a part of it that, you know, can pay to be on the station, and you could do the same thing. But we're probably just going to switch to a flat rate for everybody that just wants to do a show, so it's more like a community thing, you know. Or I don't want to talk about anything till it's there. I've got a other idea. So in the beginning of the show, we actually talked about this, where Robert Monroe discussed, you know, how to get your shit together, or why we feel bad, or this, how waveforms, which he believes that we are waveforms, when we get to this level where we're resisting change, something wants to change, something wants to resist it, things get shitty until the energy goes one way or the other. So that's actually happening at the station, is what I'm saying. Regardless, we could always use your support. I want to thank, again, Brian and Domek for supporting and helping out. But with that being said, this is Lighting the Void too, this show specifically. And I don't know. If you really want to know, because I know Cherie is thinking about it, right? If you really want to know what I think about channeling, I kind of look at channeling and conscious exploration as this is going to sound bad, but it's like the cryptids. How I view cryptids. I could take it or leave it. But I am getting a little bit more interested to know if it is actually, if there's any validity to it. Because I know that people can channel things through their unconscious. Like, I've studied this stuff enough to know through hypnotism and things like that people will bring out fragmented parts of their personality and channel things out, for sure. Like I said, Tom Zinser he's got a whole teaching on this, where he teaches people to help people go into their subconscious through hypnotism and bring these things out and heal their traumas through it. But isn't it an actual other being? Like, these people are stating that they're in focus levels of 20, 21, whatever, at the Monroe Institute doing, I think someone in the chat said they read the whole process of how they get to this state. So they're in an altered state of consciousness. There's no doubt. But are they actually taking on another person, an entity, or a waveform? It's a lot to think about, because there's lots of things to consider. Maybe this is the only place that we have an individuality, is in Earth, and any other forms of consciousness that we go into out of the body, we just kind of mingle up with waveforms anyways. So if all is one, then are we really channeling anything to begin with? Secondly, like I said before, is this just a part of a fragmented personality? And third, are they just complete lying and bullshitting and making it up because they're on the spot and it's kind of a peer pressure thing? That's really all I want to know about when it comes to channeling and stuff, honestly, you know. Now, if you have an opinion on this, you can always call into the show, 501-777-5631. And believe me, I do want to hear your opinions. If I don't pick up, you can leave a voicemail, or you can keep trying. For some reason, the damn thing, it rings sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. Can't help it. We don't have the fancy phone system right now. So where do we leave off? I don't even know who is talking, but they're actually getting into the subject of channeling at the Monroe Institute. I'll have to apologize once more about the audio. This is from late 70s, early 80s, so
Very often there are energy streams that do contain a cluster of information, but not to the degree where they could actually be called an entity, because they do not have a sense of identity as such. And therefore, indeed, they do not try to express their entity or identity as such, but they do just flow as an energy stream, and the process of flowing itself is the means of expression. Now, every living person, and indeed every living being, has got the potential to tune into these energy streams that do occur, as we said, in space and time and outside of space and time, and therefore become a part of that energy flow and can express this energy flow. Now, this energy flows, they do not only flow on one space level or one time level, but they do also flow from time to time level, from space to space level, and therefore somebody who can tune into these energy streams very well can get in touch with information that come from the past, from the future, from other levels of existence, and he is not as such then channeling an entity that does give him this information. Do you see?
Yes, we understand that.
Now, this refers to what a friend and Harold too were discussing the other day. If a person understands that principle, there is no need anymore to look for other entities as such that could be then considered to be sources of information. All it needs indeed is somewhat open the mind and become aware of these multidimensional energy flows that are present everywhere and at any time, and therefore to get access to any information you desire. You see, all that is needed then would be an open mind and an intention for certain information, for certain qualities and aspects of information. And then the open mind somewhat would open gates or doors for these energy streams that then would flow into the conscious being of a person and would somewhat be expressed consciously. And this is way before you would express all that in terms of a language or an image. You see, these energy flows are vibrational flows of energy that do contain in itself the information without expressing it as language or as an image or even as color or even as anything that you are familiar with. And therefore, an open mind very often contains all these various energy streams, but sensing that they are there does not mean at the same time that the conscious mind would be able to become aware of them or to express them. So the conscious...
Who's this guy? Does anybody know who this guy is? I'm trying to figure it out.
Mind needs to open itself up towards these energy streams, but also has to learn to then interpret it in ways that do make sense to his conscious understanding. You see?
Yes, we follow that.
Now, oftentimes when a person starts channeling, he is not channeling as such an entity, but he is using the channeling process as a means of interpretation of those energy sources. And as he is not aware of that process, he has a tendency then to call the process by name, give it a name and make it an entity that it has not been beforehand, you see. So what a person does oftentimes is he creates an entity that he is then channeling by somewhat adding together, cluster together energy streams that then in his understanding form an entity, and then it seems to him to be much easier to approach this entity and to channel information of this entity that indeed does not even exist as such.
I see.
Wait a minute, hold on a second.
And thus it would be a more clear, we would receive more clear information if we did not do this.
So he's basically saying what I just said. Like they're channeling some kind of energy, and we're the ones that give it a name and say it's this and that. right? Like that almost sounded like a really clever and super intelligent presentation of a way to say, well, they're just making it all up, but they're channeling something, you know. I don't know. I might have missed some of that, but that's what I caught from that.
Yes, you would not limit yourself to the information that is then contained by the entity, you see.
Are you speaking now from such a stream of information, or are you...
Well, that what is speaking at this moment in time is a stream of information and has not got an identity as such.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this stream of information flows through the concept of Harold and becomes a voice that is expressed.
Yeah.
If you gave me a name now, I would become an entity, and the information I gave to you and the information that is still to follow would be then part of that entity and therefore be limited.
So it's just flowing information. That's all it is. This, at least that's what he's saying. It's just information that's coming in. If you give it a name, then it becomes an entity. You know, in magic, they call those intelligences, right? Or they, you know, almost like when we give things, that's back to that whole I am that I am. Once we give something a name, I think it takes on a form or a presence or some type of identification instead of just being a stream of consciousness, right?
You see?
Yes, but even if we don't give a name, we tend still to think in these terms, as you suggested, which is then limits the information we'll receive to that portion that we've named. Is that?
This is indeed so.
Mm-hmm. The streams of information then are, would we think of them as containing a certain kind of information?
Well, there are unlimited streams of information, and within all of these streams of information, there is contained all knowledge there is, you see. Now, in order to gain or to get in touch with a certain quality of knowledge, with a certain aspect of knowledge, all you need to do, as we said before, is open your mind towards that source of knowledge, and it will come to you, not as an entity, but as knowledge, and then will flow through the being of the channel and become information, expressed through voice or movement or whatever, you see. Now, if you want different information, you should not try to refer to the same source of information, but just try to open new doors for that new information and allow other sources of information, other streams of energy and information to flow through this just newly opened door and become a voice again, you see. Therefore, the access to information would never ever be limited again.
I see. So that even with new explorers, it would be a procedure could be used that would involve simply asking them to find certain kinds of information.
Yes.
Responses to specific questions.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
You could ask specific questions, or you could ask them to just open up and tell you whatever comes into their mind. Because every explorer will have a natural tendency, as he or she has certain interests in specific topics, to attract energies that somewhat fulfill these intentions, express these intentions, you see. So whenever an explorer is in the booth and opens up, he will attract energy and information that indeed is in accordance to his intention and desires. And this is the reason why so many times when different explorers go into the booth, the information they get seems to be so different and somewhat conflicting with each other, because all these people attract that information that somewhat is backing up their belief structure and their intention, you see. Now, knowing this, you do know that all information they do receive.
Hold on just one
is
second.
indeed
Let me
true.
pause this. We got phone caller. It looks like 5.
Oh, don't call me.
I'm not going to say your name, just 562 area code. That's all. That's it. That's all I'll say. I'll never, if you don't want anybody to know who you are, I don't even know who you are. Who are you? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
No, I just don't go by Joelle. So. But anyway, I go by Cherie, my Cherie.
Cherie. What's up, Cherie?
My Cherie.
My Cherie.
Hi.
You're always the one that leaves and disappears in Juan's chat and comes back. You're like, hi.
Yeah, bye. Because I'm not a gamer.
Yeah.
Am I live right now?
Yes, you are.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, anyway, I was just wanting to, do you know Jerry Marzinski?
I do not.
He's the psychiatrist that works with schizophrenics and stuff like that. And he's basically saying that they're actually demons,
Whoa.
you know? And so he advocates for this, it's called the MACE energy method. And basically he was saying that anyone can get rid of any trauma within an hour.
No matter how deep it is, how bad it is.
No matter how deep it is, no matter
What's his
they don't
name
even
again?
need to know the MACE energy method.
Okay.
You know how they always say, like, oh, the best way to heal is to forgive. Yeah, right. It's still in you. It's still festering. You know what I mean? So basically, it's unless you get rid of the feeling. If the feeling's still there, it'll always be like, you know, like a bruise or whatever. Anyway, so, and they're looking for people all the time to be MACE method, MACE energy method, you know, what do you call it? I don't know, method, you know, you could do that yourself, you know, you could learn to do it yourself is what I mean, and to help people.
It seems, I'll have to check into that. That seems almost too good to be true, though, because like some people's trauma, man, I feel like I've helped a lot of people in my life, but then other people, like I was saying earlier before, it also kind of depends on how much people actually want to hold on to it. I think people hold on to their traumas too, because it serves them sometimes. If they don't want to let it go, then you can't do anything about it, no matter how much you try to heal them. In my opinion, you know, I could be wrong. We need to get this dude on the show and talk to him.
Oh yeah, he was just on Paranoid Americans, you know.
Yeah, we need to talk to that guy.
Yeah, and he was on for his second time, and then the second time he came with like a patient, and he totally took us through his whole experience of, you know, with demons. Basically, they believe they're demons. Yeah.
Well, I was just listening to Liam Thomas Christopher's latest video about demons, and I thought it was fascinating because he states it like this: it's not as if demons aren't real. Like, they actually kind of are a real thing, but they're traumatic, egregoric parts of us, not just us as individuals, but us cosmically, consciously, collectively, you know, even through generations. So it's kind of interesting to hear everybody's side to it, you know.
Yeah, you need to get him on for sure.
Do you think he's right?
Yeah, I do. I
do
for sure.
So you believe in the whole angels and demons thing?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Doesn't it feel good, even if you're totally wrong and full of shit? Doesn't the energy feel good just to say yeah, instead of wondering about it?
I don't know. I just do. I just believe it.
There you go. I respect that.
Do. All right.
Thanks for calling in.
Bye.
We might get that guy on the show, actually. That's pretty cool. Yeah, if you guys really want to learn, if you can get past all of like the fear of magic and like dark evil stuff, if you really want to learn like the spiritual, in my opinion, like the super real aspect of, I guess you could say, ceremonial magic, Liam Thomas Christopher's channel, that guy he only has 2,700 subs. He should have like 100,000 right now. I mean, if you're really interested in the truth, in my opinion, this is only my opinion, in the truth of what it really is, you should follow that guy to the T. Like, read his book, follow that video. But that's a cool guest. We might get him on and talk to him about it. See what he thinks. Anybody else can call in if you want to. 501-777-5631. Love to hear your opinions.
Relatively speaking, you see. Now, in order to get what you understand as objective knowledge, you have to open up more and more doors within each explorer, and there will be a state when the original intention has been expressed, and then somewhat a neutral stage of opening will occur. And then indeed you will find information that might not be as colored anymore when it flows through these individuals, do you see?
Is the, what you're calling colored information or filtered information, is that information that's coming through that is already in the mind and is just being interpreted?
Yes, you see, there are expectations within any human being. And when you send an explorer out to explore, these expectations will indeed attract information which is somewhat connected to the expectations and will be expressed then through these expectations. Do you follow?
Yes.
So in order to gain true knowledge, you need to train the explorers to find a state that is beyond their state of expectation. It's a mystic state where an explorer becomes one with that part of its entity that indeed does reside beyond the space and time concept, meaning here that within space and time the level of expectations is much higher because there is a strive of survival and understanding which you do not have as such in a state independent of space and time, do you see?
Yeah, so this beginning state would be, is this the state that was referred to earlier by Harold 2 or Harold 3 as a state of freedom?
This is true.
So that's at that point then, when the explorer is able to reach that state and then go beyond, then the information will be less colored by their own expectations.
Yes, yes indeed. So, when you send explorers into the booth
hold on
and ask them to explore,
that's a lot to take in, right? I get it, but if you guys seen Stanley Kubrick's film, the one about the bomb, the mad scientist that he plays in there, or not Kubrick that plays it, but that's what this guy sounds like. It sounds like a freaking mad scientist talking about entities and consciousness, almost like it's coming from a comic book, doesn't it?
It is important to tell them that what they might explore will very well meet their beliefs structure and system, will meet their expectations, but this does not mean that it is proof that what they believed in is true, you see. It just means that they were able to attract information that is in accordance with their belief structure. Now, in order to gain even higher level of knowledge, it is important to express those belief structures first and then get to this point of utter freedom that then allows you to get in touch with uncolored knowledge. Uncolored meaning not colored by your expectations and your beliefs.
That is one of the best, most validating things I've ever heard. Think about what he just said. It's important for you to, it's almost like, let me try to sum up what he's saying. If you're channeling information or whatever, like say you're downloading stuff or channeling information, it's important that you filter the information from your belief systems first. Why? Who was I talking to? I was talking to Beezy about this earlier, like in a meeting with, so we have this, or she actually brought this up, but it's something I've talked about before too. Like we think even our religious belief structures, whatever our belief structure is, whatever we believe, we think, oh, it might be BS, but it's important. Even hermetically, it's important because there's the operation of the moon, the sun, and the stars, right? Magic, alchemy, and astrology. Those are just symbols for the representations. But when we do the operation under the moon, or if you want to look at it psychologically, when we need to do work on our subconscious, we first have to filter information through our belief structures. Things that we have a structure of belief. It's almost like a software system in our head. So spiritually, it could be Christianity, it could be Buddhism, it could be atheism, it could be psychology, it could be the Kabbalah, it could be anything, like a software system that helps us understand certain energies. And then once we get to a certain level of consciousness, and this is above theurgy, once we get past the moon or the unconscious, magic is reprogram, like kind of taking those energies and reprogramming a different software so that you can understand higher things, but still kind of using an old belief system, if that makes any sense. To sum up what he's saying, he said it so perfectly and articulated it really well. It's important not to just rip the Band-Aid off your belief system and then expect to take in a bunch of like knowledge, because that's buried inside you since you've been a kid, probably in your cell memory too, if it's in your family. And then take that in, take the information in, and then as you slowly increase in consciousness, you can develop another belief system instead of just trying to do it all at once. I probably just fumbled everything he just said. I wish I could articulate it the way he just said it.
Yes.
Now, there are many levels of expectations. You see, every person is aspective. Now, being aspective means that a personality does have many, many different aspects, and all these aspects do indeed hold beliefs, expectations, so that all these beliefs and expectations might at any given time be expressed, and therefore you will find that an explorer that goes into the booth on a regular basis might, over a period of a year maybe, have very different experiences, being the reason for this being that the different experiences and information are attracted by the different aspects of this person. And only when all these aspects have been expressed in a certain way at one time quality, only then they get access to somewhat what you might call a neutral information. Neutral meaning that the information somewhat is independent of their expectations. The expectations and the belief structure are still needed as an energy pattern to express the information, but the information itself will be delivered in a much more objective way, you see.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So that it's not only important for us to know ourselves as monitors and as people in the lab, but also for the explorer to know themselves, that they should not get, let's say, attached to the information that's brought in.
This is
in
very
early
important.
stages. Mm-hmm.
This is very important indeed. Mm-hmm. You see, and the explorer and the monitor have to understand that all the information that will come forward is true, but it might be aspective. You see?
Yes, it's hard for us always to understand that the aspective can also be true.
It is true.
Holy shit.
Now, when you look at the cluster of reality layers you're living in and that you call the space and time continuum, you will find that there is an indefinite number of reality layers that are tightly connected with each other. And they all cross over and form points of power or materialization. And these points of power indeed are then the energy sources that do in turn form a belief structure of reality. Now, these clusters of reality and these cross points of reality streams then in turn attract entities that do somewhat melt into these points of power of reality patterns and become part of it, and therefore they do experience only those clusters of points of powers, you see. Now, when they perceive reality, what they do perceive is that specific cross point where many levels of reality to cross, you see, and it becomes real for them. Now, they could follow the streams of energy before they go through these cross points, follow back these streams of energy, and meet another cross point of reality, and therefore the reality somewhat seems to change, you see. They can keep on doing this, and the more they do this, the more expanded will become their awareness, the more their conscious mind will be growing. And there might be a point when they have been following these various streams of reality that finally they become independent of the streams of reality, and therefore also of the cross points of reality, and somewhat get a bigger picture of what is going on, you see. Now, when we talk about these cross points of reality layers, this is an aspective reality. When you travel along the energy streams of realities, time would be one. This is still an aspective reality. And when you then become independent of these energy streams, like time and space being two of them, then you only are able to get a bigger picture, and then you can somewhat jump from one cross point of reality to another cross point of reality, and even exchange these for one another, do you see?
And this would be the normal path that an entity would follow.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
And such an entity you would call an enlightened one, because indeed it would be independent of the focus of various cross points of reality and energy streams within what you might call reality, you see.
All right, so if we go back to if what he's saying is true, then if we go back to the concept of like demons, let's just say Lucifer, right? That's based on a belief structure and a reality at the same time. So maybe this if he's saying is real, what if this entity goes into another reality system or stream? Just as an example, and he has to be consciously aware enough to adapt to the entire reality system and then characterize itself, right? So maybe these entities that we give names to or have been given names to since the beginning of time have been just entities from other reality systems, and then when they get in our reality system, we're like, oh, well, you're going to play the character of Lucifer, and you Gabriel, or you Aphrodite, or you Osiris, right? Like, that's how we'll be able to understand you in this reality system. Maybe. Or he's just simply talking about entities that have nothing to do with anything that I'm talking about. It's very, I can understand it, but I can't articulate it like he can. He does sound like what you guys are talking about, like some kind of German spy that's on meth that's in here explaining us, the nature of God all of a sudden. It's pretty cool, actually.
Mm-hmm. And are you saying that, again, the way in which we've tended to look for entities and identify them and so on tends to keep them at certain cross points?
You do,
mm-hmm.
Indeed. And again, as we said, what they then would describe as reality would indeed be true, but aspective.
Yes, I see what you're saying there.
True, but aspective. Not subjective, but aspective. True, yes, that is Lucifer, based on our reality. It's an aspect of our reality that's true. That's weird. That's a crazy concept. So think of your finger as like an entity, right? It's a part of a hand that you don't know. And this finger goes inside of one reality. I don't know. In that reality, they call it a finger or the pointy finger, And then you take it back out and then you put it in another reality. It's still a part of a structure or whatever, but it's called something else in a different reality. Not the pointy finger, but something else. It's fucking weird. I'm just gonna, like, when the show's over, I'm probably gonna lay in my bed and just stare at the freaking ceiling and think about this for about 2 hours, more than likely.
Now it's time for a question again.
Yes. As we begin working with a new explorer, some of our explorers have seemed to have great difficulty letting the energy begin to move at all. Do you have some suggestions for those situations?
Well, what it needs is encouragement again and again. Like when an explorer is in the booth and he is not experiencing a thing, then you should try to make him experience and not just let him lay there in silence, you see. Because when he lays there, he starts to wonder, do I experience something? Am I an explorer? Maybe these people out there get bored, nothing is happening, the tones still seem to be the same. Maybe I should never have gone into the booth. You know, all these thoughts come across his mind.
We've heard all those, yes.
Now, it is important that you stop the explorer from getting close to those concepts by asking him to do certain exercises, by moving the arms, the hands, the toes, get him involved in what was going on into the booth, and then he will feel after the session that he has gained something, you know. He might not be sure to what it might lead to finally, but this is not important. Important is that when an explorer leaves the booth, that he has the feeling something has happened. He has done and gained something, you see. Now, indeed, in order to get the energy is flowing, you can have very different approaches. You can somewhat trick the explorer by telling him to do certain physical exercises and to observe. And when he has certain observations, then tell him that this is all right, this is what he should have expected, you see. And indeed, whatever he will realize and learn from each session will be something that takes him away from its usual track of reality, you see. It does not matter what path an explorer takes. As long as he leaves his normal track of reality, it's fine, because then he opens up towards new ideas. It's only when he gets stuck in his old ideas that he has a hard time to explore, you see. Therefore, it is important when an explorer says, I feel like this, that you focus on it and encourage him to see more, to explore more in that respect, you see, and as you indeed do and try to do.
Mm-hmm. So that even if the explorer is focusing on body sensations, this is still...
this is all right.
Okay, to encourage.
Right. If an explorer says, I don't feel a thing, it's silent here, you just say, great, explore the silence, it's great, this is what you should expect, you know. And he becomes confident and listens into the silence, and then might indeed hear something that is beyond silence. Mm-hmm. Whatever is experienced should become a tool. And you see, as there are individuals, everybody is individual and different, they will have different ways to start their exploration. And it's important to encourage those.
At this point, flip the cassette to the other side for the balance of this session.
What?
You know, we often recently are getting a new...
I think we should stop and process here. Like, process here. I know you could always go listen to this on your own too, the Explorer series at archive.org, but it's a lot to take in. So this is which number is this? 32, Explore 31, entities, energy streams, and information. But guys, my whole point in like playing this stuff, just so you know, is what it's actually like to explore consciously. Like when people say, are you doing the work? Well, there's psychological work and all this work we got to do on ourselves. But to explore consciously, like this is the way you do it, you know. I'm not saying psychedelics are bad. They're definitely not, but this is some of the most intense stuff that we actually get to be a part of. I think we should all be exploring consciousness like this, though. Not that we actually have time. It's not very practical unless we start like a Void Walking Institute. We should all just go like start a commune and just start a new cult, or either just go live at the Monroe Institute. I'm really projecting right now. I'm totally fascinated by this stuff. I could just sit in a booth, talk about this stuff, do the same things, and then do a radio show for the rest of my freaking life. Even if I was a millionaire, I don't care. That's what I would do. Just fascinating stuff. And my Cherie, like, I don't think that this guy that's speaking, even though he sounds like a German mad scientist, is lying or full of shit. I think he's actually like channeling something real to help us figure out how to explore consciously better, you know. Yeah, it means the world to me, Cosmic. You get it. Cosmic, you're an OG Void Walker, brother. He did say you could be. Did he say you could be tricked? We'll have to go back and listen to it. There is I want to say another 20 minutes or so of discussion on this, but we can get back into it tomorrow night. I would like to make some new promos for the show, guys. So if you want to just call in and leave a voicemail, say your name, where you're calling from, if you're a OG Void Walker or not, why you listen, if you hate it, whatever, give shout outs. If I get enough of those, I'll make a new promo, because that one I've been playing is it's a little bit older, and I'd like to hear some of the new voices on there. So yeah, 501-777-5631, leave a voicemail. Support the Fringe FM if you can at www.fringe or www.fringe.fm. And we'll see you guys tomorrow night. Love you. Night, sweet dreams, all that.
Waiting for things. Throw the force toward the source, waiting to attain grace. Our paths diverge, but take us to the same place. Cast skyward, weightless when the chains break. Archetypal figures that shape shift and change face. Storm the gates, hit the safe, get the cake. While dog eats dog off a dining family dinner plate. I'm in the clouds, in the crowd, in the visionscape. In effect, any minute now, I'ma get it straight. I've seen her face in my dreams since I was young. A Beatrice, a queen, a mother that chides a son, that stumbled through his life when he couldn't find a hobby, and lived on the cliff's edge like the Anasazi. Saw my love walking down the street like a vision, a symbol of a hidden world. Show me what I'm missing. She smiled at him but said nothing, then disappeared around the corner while I put the poison in my bloodstream. A child born into briars and thorns that tried to silence sirens and horns in the eye of the storm. The fire rages, the state calls her young to war. Some will turn their hatred into something more and place guns in the floor. Breathe deep, darkness retreats. See, my heart periodically is part of her mystique. Hold the keys to the city where the shepherds lead the sheep, and never ever ever get the mark of the beast. I climbed the ladder, then I fell again. I had the whole wardrobe full of skeletons and old habits that arrested my development. In the woods at the mercy of the elements.